Hi, welcome to Artist Spotlight 2020. I'm here with Barb Kellogg, who's crossed over in both of our events we're sharing with you. We got the Millstream Arts Festival, which we're also collaborating with the
Yep.
St. Cloud Downtown Art Crawl, and you've participated in both of them. And I'm really excited to have some time with you today and get to know you and get to know your work and new work that you're working on. And
Right.
we usually have at Millstream, we have a author's booth also.
Yep.
So
And
you've
that's where
you've
I
even
would have
crossed over,
been.
yeah, crossed over into that booth. So this is exciting. I'm glad that we're able to have this conversation. So can you share with our audience today who you are and what do you do,
Sure.
Barb?
Sure. My name is Barb Kellogg, as should be very obvious on the screen. Um, I'm I'm a photographer, and I also kind of added the label accidental author, and that
No.
ties into the book that we'll talk about. But um,
Hmm.
because we all learned how to read and write, but being an author is not something I necessarily was looking to do. But um, I guess when you create a book, you end up being an author. So,
Yes, you do. And so what is your background? How did you come to being an author now? How was all that?
so my background is not the straightest route. It's definitely not photography or literature. I've got a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in therapy and human development. But as you know, I guess we'll keep teasing the book to keep people watching. But my background did influence everything I'm doing today. There's an advertising degree to throw that in for fun as well. Um, yeah, I don't know if I've fully answered the
Yeah.
question or
When
not,
did
but
you pick up a camera, Barb? Curious about
it's
that.
been over a dozen years since taking it seriously. So,
Ah, and
yeah.
what led you to photography over other mediums?
I can't paint, I can't draw. I mean, I don't know. I was never, um, hopefully this doesn't offend anybody, but I was never what you would consider an artsy person in grade school, high school, college. It was never anything that I wasn't discouraged, but art isn't necessarily something that is encouraged.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
don't quite
No,
know how to.
I
Um,
agree. I have spoken to a lot of artists today and other days that have said, this wasn't my path. This wasn't what I chose. It wasn't until later that I was
right.
introduced to this.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And not that I didn't pick up a camera. I mean, so to date myself, I'm sure some people remember the 110 Instamatic cameras in the
Hmm.
70s. So it's
I
not
do.
that, but I don't have this really cool origin story of my dad. Well, my dad did give me a camera for graduation, but that's not what I don't have this cool origin story where, I always wanted to do this and and whatnot. So it mostly kind of was reignited in that advertising degree. I had to take one photography class, and I blame him for all the subsequent thousands of dollars and thousands of hours I've spent since then. And it's been over a dozen years. So
Yeah, it does add up, doesn't it?
yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot of people making and creating work out today. What is it that you want the one thing you want people to know about your art, remember about your art, or experience with your art? Like, what's that one thing that you want them to
Oh,
take away?
I want them to feel something.
Mhm.
I don't care if you're reading my book, looking at a photograph. Um, my and this kind of is how my photography has evolved too. Um, just really trying to embrace eliciting an emotion in somebody.
Oh, hmm.
I, I mean, that's really distilled, but I mean that is the most basic thing. Is I want you to feel something, and
Hmm.
that's good.
And it ties into, your background, and it ties
Hmm.
into this new book that we're going to be talking about now. How will
Right?
we bring that up and talk about that?
Sure, sounds good. Um, so I think the slide will be popping up. There we go.
There it is. Yeah.
So this came out very late last year. My official book launch was in January. And then, of course, any public events kind of have dried up for this year. And I've also chosen not to do any public events as well. But if you only knew, Revealing the Humanity of Mental Illness, you see, it's a real book. Um, this started, there were kind of a couple pieces that came together. The book probably wouldn't be in existence if a friend of mine hadn't decided suicide was the only answer. But prior to that, we had some discussions, and I could just ask him, what does it feel like? Does it feel like this? Does it feel like this? I was really trying to, I couldn't walk in his shoes, but I could kind of try. And so that happened, that suicide happened. And then a few years later, I was taking a conceptual photography class, which if you think of like what's on a book cover, that's generally a conceptual photograph because you can usually tell what the book is about by its cover. And so that's the whole point. So I took this conceptual photography class and then somewhere along the line, I figured out what if I could use my photography to help other people understand depression, various forms of mental illness, because most people either A, you don't wear a badge, so you don't know someone has a mental illness. And also most people won't just come out and ask you, so what does that feel like, right? And so this didn't happen overnight, this over years before I finally kind of got an in at an area location where I could do my little spiel and say, this is what I'm doing. And it started as an art exhibit that was at the Paramount. I'm not remembering the name of the gallery across the street.
Gallery Saint Germain, I think it's.
That obvious, yes, and I couldn't remember it.
Yes. Well, I
So
think our next picture is a part of the book.
yes,
Hmm.
yep. So I interviewed a total of, and bear with me because this has been a
Oh,
long project and I haven't talked about it, so I've got my notes. There were a total of 32 people that I interviewed. Not everyone wanted a portrait, or it just wasn't convenient to get a portrait. And so these are some of the people that very nicely and kindly shared their stories of their mental illness with me and what it feels like. And I took all the photographs. I'm often asked that question. And they're just, I don't want to say they are, because they are you, they are me, they are all of us. And just trying to reduce the stigma and some of the assumptions that people make. This book has a whole lot of very big goals, but
very
yeah,
nice.
I need another question, so I stopped
Yes,
rambling.
yes, yes. Let's look at the next. Is this part of the book also?
It is. So if you could
Okay.
move my thumbnail to the right side, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so the image on the right um, is the final image that's in the book. And the gal had described her mental illness as feeling very empty and like she was drowning. And
Mm,
so I called them visual analogies, is how I labeled them in the book. And so, for everyone that I created a photo for, um, I had to think, how can I do this, right? So I'm not going to go underwater and do this. So I need to figure out a way to make people kind of look and go, holy crap, is there somebody in the water?
mm-hmm.
So the top left image is just me peering over a dock. I live in Avon, and just taking a picture of the weeds and whatever. The next photograph is just me standing in a doorway. You can't see me because it's dark in the room, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just me reaching my hands forward. it was a slow shutter speed, and I moved my hands so there'd be some movement. And then I combined those two images to
Sure.
create that idea of drowning, which for the gal that I created this for, I think she was like really kind of shocked, like, oh my God, did she like jump in the lake to do that? So
Yeah.
that works. Yeah.
Wow.
And it
Wow.
was fun. It was fun to do.
Powerful.
I know it's a very serious subject,
Hmm.
um, but it was also a creative project for me. I mean, this was really more of a photography project that turned into me being an accidental author. So it was more to just kind of spur my creativity too. So,
Nice. And I think another piece is about that visual and analogies.
yep, exactly. And these two are part of the book as well. The wall, that's another composite that I created. The gal has multiple personalities. And I very much love flower photography. And so I was able to incorporate a different flower for each personality. And I used myself as the silhouette and took a photograph of a, a brick facade outside our house and just combined all those images. It's pretty abstract unless you know that each flower represents a personality, because I don't
Mm.
tell you that in the book. And a lot of people gravitate to this image for different reasons, and they don't necessarily know the meaning behind it.
Hmm.
Um, they're just gravitated towards it, and it always surprises me when people gravitate towards something. And yeah, and the one on the right is just out here in Avon. It was going to storm, and it hadn't started raining yet. And I quick got in my car and drove down this road because I knew where this was. I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. Um, and his depression and all that feels like a constant storm to him. And
Mm.
so, yeah.
Nice. Wow. Beautiful. The images are beautiful. I was going to say the ones behind you on the wall. The the wall.
Oh,
The wall
yep.
is behind you on the wall. Yes,
Whoop, wrong
yes,
side.
yes, yep. There you go.
Yep.
So the next piece we have is a zine.
Oh,
uh,
zine is how it's
Zine,
pronounced.
thank you.
Yep, but you're not the only one. So it's short for magazine,
Oh,
and there are differences. A magazine, you think of like Good Housekeeping or something that you subscribe to, whereas a zine is often individually published. Um, they're often thematic. Um, Usually it's just one artist, or it could be a group of artists, but around one theme. There kind of are no rules. And one of the things that, one of the complaints I hear when people say they don't want to buy my art is, oh, I don't have any wall space, right?
oh. Hmm.
So why not create a magazine, right? And so we had just gotten out of here at the very end of February to go to Australia. And
Oh, wow.
I decided to put together, you know, a zine. And so it's heavy on the photography. There is some information scattered throughout. Um, that is linked on my website, of course.
So
And
so
it was
people
fun.
so people can purchase this on your
Right.
website.
Yep. And it comes in print and digital. Um, yeah, it's really, I was incredibly surprised at how, I don't think you can tell how thick it is.
It looks,
Um,
yeah.
but it's more substantial. I don't know if Good Housekeeping still publishes, but more substantial than the last Good Housekeeping I picked up 20 some odd years
Oh,
ago. So it was
nice.
fun to put together. I could use my design skills. Um, and I plan to put out a couple more this year, hopefully, just different subjects, not
Hmm.
necessarily travel. Um, I'm thinking we had a trip to Yellowstone we did last year, so featuring that kind of journey, and then possibly a floral one too. So,
Hmm. Wonderful. And your book you can also purchase on your website
right,
also.
exactly. Yeah, the website is really the main hub where I try to send people to sign up for my newsletter, to purchase things, or the magazine is actually hosted on another website, but it's easiest to just link it on mine and it'll take you there. So,
Okay. All right. So you spoke about your how much you love taking floral photos
Yes,
and things. So I think we're into some of your photo work too.
we are. So this would be kind of separate from the books, but obviously everything has photography, so it's all kind of related. This image I took a few years ago, and it really, I think, was, I don't know if it was the first time that I really captured what I feel when I photograph flowers. But that's
Mm.
definitely what I came away with when I saw it. And a couple years ago, I also started shooting on film, and I believe this is a film photograph. I should remember, but I'm pretty sure it is. So I
Hmm.
was just happy. I had to wait for it to come back from the lab, and it just it's it's just kind of freeing and bright, and it's definitely my happy place. So, and all I know is choosing a few images for this video was very, very hard.
I believe it. I believe
Yeah,
it. This one is absolutely beautiful. I think we have
thank you.
another floral piece too.
Yep, this one is new. Um, And yeah, I've got orchids here at home. So when they're blooming, I'm photographing them usually.
Mm.
So um, they're kind of a captive model for me. And this was just, I, I, I don't know how to explain it. I just really like the combination of the yellow and the purple. Um, it's just a kind of a, I started labeling my work as kind of intimate work because even the landscapes are intimate. Generally, the floral work is kind of an intimate kind of floral portrait, or I don't know how you want to describe it,
Mm.
but
I
yeah,
was I was
I
I
just
was gonna say portrait. It reminds me of a portrait. It just
right,
has that warmth and that, intimacy to that piece there.
right,
So the
yeah, and actually
background
the
falls away.
the background is a portrait backdrop.
Oh,
So yeah, it's just
beautiful.
it cleans up all the clutter in the room that I'm sitting in.
Yeah.
This is a very nice little corner.
We all have those now.
Yes.
And our next piece is another flower.
Yeah, open heart is what I decided to call that because I could kind of see an open heart if you
Mm.
look at the shape. Um, just some tulips that I'd gotten my hands on. A local flower shop is very nice to me when I say, "Oh, I need something kind of interesting to shoot. What have you got?" And so they hook me up.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I suppose I should. St. Joseph Floral
Oh,
is
okay.
in St. Joseph. Yeah, definitely got to
Yeah.
give them a shout out because they've been very kind to me.
Oh,
Um,
behind the not Speedway. Oh my gosh.
the
Holiday.
holiday, yes,
Behind the
yes,
holiday. Yes.
yep,
Very good.
yep.
The next piece is
Oh, yep. So that would be we'd get into the little bit more of the landscape. As much as I do love my flowers, man, there's some places that you go that just they're just wonderful, and who doesn't love a waterfall, right? Um,
mm-hmm.
and this is in Nova Scotia, Canada, and it was a nice, easy walk. And me and some other photographer, we kind of there was really only one spot to stand, and so he some stranger, I don't know who he was, very nicely waited while I set up my tripod and took my shots, and then I got my job done and made room for him. So, but it was just a beautiful area.
It is a
So
beautiful area.
yeah,
Beautiful. And then stillness in the pines here.
this is in Oregon. Um, it was some of my titles I kind of pull out of thin air. Some titles of my work I ask other people to title for me because I'm drawing a blank. But it was so quiet, and all you could hear, if you've ever been in a pine forest, you hear the wind through the pine needles, and it's still, but you still hear that little sound. And it was obviously a sunny day. Um, yeah, it was just a wonderful little walk in a park, and again, this was filmed too. I did a whole vacation where I took nothing but film. So, and
Mm.
which
It's
for me
a,
was a risk I at the time. So
I think, yeah,
because
I film is a risk.
yeah, and I didn't bring a lot, and so film isn't necessarily easy to purchase when you're on vacation. You don't know where to go, and So I became very conservative. It was definitely, if I didn't see the shot, I didn't take it, which is how I should always shoot.
Mm.
But yeah, I was very careful with my framing, and I was very happy with almost everything from that vacation. So
That is beautiful. And then essence of nature.
yeah, so this is something that most of you are going to be like, what? Um, because it's delving a little bit more into the abstract, and I have found my own personal experience as well as other people's experience with abstract art. It's a bit polarizing. You're usually not neutral about it. You usually like it or you don't. And I'm actually a little nervous about starting to share this because some of this is newer work. It's more intentional. I'm intentionally trying to um, create a body of work that involves, it's called intentional camera movement. So I'm intentionally panning the camera at a slower shutter speed to create that kind of image. And this is also from Australia. I believe Melaleuca trees.
Oh,
Eh, don't quote me on that,
I
everybody.
believe you. I haven't been there.
Well, I
You
know,
could
but
say any kind of tree, and I
people
believe
like
you.
to Google and they're like, no, that's not it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, I have notes in front of me, but I don't have that. So, but no, I just really liked it. When we were walking through um, Star Wars, don't ask me which one, but it's the one where Luke goes down and is trained by Yoda in the
Oh,
swamp
sure.
area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but it totally reminded me of that. A good buddy of mine just loves Star Wars, and I took a picture and texted it to him, and I'm like, John, doesn't this remind you of Star Wars? And he didn't say one way or the other, so maybe it was just me, um, but yeah, it was just a cool location. So,
It is cool. And the last one we have here is Echo of a Moment.
yes, so obviously, so because I have orchids here, I do photograph them a lot. It is becoming challenging to see them in a new way and not keep just photographing the same composition. And so again, this is that intentional camera movement. You can see by the flow that it has moved. Um, it's very hit and miss. This is not an exact thing to do. I doubt you would want to do this with film because I can burn through over 500 images an hour doing this. So,
Wow.
and most of them are just suck. Um, well, they do because you're moving, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
I'm not a robot and can't, 100% control. And as soon as you move, your shutter blacks out. So, or as soon as you depress the shutter, the what you look through is black now. So you can't see where you're moving. You just have to go with the flow. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's actually very, while it's can be challenging, it's also easy, but it's very freeing and liberating at the same time. And
Mm-hmm.
once you get an image that you like, and for me, it was this. I'm just like, oh yeah, because again, this
Mm-hmm.
kind of reflects hopefully an emotion for people. One friend that I showed it to, she said it was kind of dream-like. Um, so,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah,
Very nice. Thank you so much for sharing
yeah.
the image
Like
and
I
your
said, I
new
could have
work.
talked for an hour on all this stuff.
Well, you can share more. We have some time. So talk about you've been doing a lot of different types of projects and going in some really unique directions with your photography and trying new
Yep.
things. Do you have a dream project?
Oh, so yeah, I had to. I'm sure by now people watching know that some of the questions are similar. We were all sent them. And so I had to laugh because I don't really have a dream project. Even the book and the exhibit were not a dream project. I didn't like go, oh my God, I have to do this. It
Hmm.
was something that evolved and gained momentum. And after a certain point, it had its own momentum. And there really was no stopping it. Right.
Hmm.
Um, and so my dream project, yeah, I just kind of laughed. But I guess the main thing is not so much a dream project, just that I keep having projects, photo ideas, things that keep moving me forward, and experimenting. So to me, that's not a
Hmm.
project or a dream. But yeah, I don't have a dream project.
Well, the experimenting, you see that, and
Yeah,
that's what we do, and that's so wonderful. And I think people get stuck in one way of doing things, and
right,
taking risks. You can see the risks, and you can see, the experimentation, and that's what makes you relevant and
right.
keeps your work out there, and people want to purchase it, and
Yeah,
people want to
hopefully.
find. Yeah, no, that's the whole, like, people want to, that's why
Yeah,
we want people to buy your work, and we want
yeah,
them to support the artists and in our community, and you're doing that on so many different levels with the book and with the project,
yeah,
and then with the zines, not
yeah.
zines, zines.
You're
Yeah.
not the only one. You're not the only one. So it was an excellent question because I'm sure other people would have been calling it the same thing. So
No,
uh,
it's wonderful. And they can go to your Facebook page and
yeah, they can go to my Facebook page. We all, I think, have kind of a love-hate relationship with Facebook. So I do post on there, but I really, really encourage people to sign up for my email newsletter because you're in control of your email, whereas Facebook is in control of your Facebook account, what you
yeah.
see and who you see for the most part. So,
And they can do
so
that
yeah,
on your website. Go to
they
your
can do
website.
that on my website. Yep, I believe it
Hmm.
says subscribe. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
pretty obvious. So I know I
Yeah.
do. I forgot to say this in the beginning of the video as a
Sure.
teaser to watch all the way to the end. So, but through what is my date?
Oh, yes, that's right.
From until October 12th of 2020, I'm going to have an automatic 11% off on my website.
Through
So that,
October 12th.
yep. So that gives people who didn't get a chance to see this on the Millstream weekend, it gives them a chance to take advantage. And someone's like, why'd you choose 11%? I'm like, it's good enough for Menards.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
11% off through October 12th. So the
yep.
people can go on your website and purchase a piece and get that, starting Millstream weekend. And
Right.
um,
Just there's a couple exceptions that I'll at least put here in the video. I
okay.
do have a special section that's already reduced, so that's excluded.
Okay.
And because the magazine is off my website and not ordered directly on my website,
Oh.
it's just too difficult to try to do a discount on that as
Mhm.
well. So,
But your photography, your floral pieces, your
yes.
book, your things like that, that's wonderful.
Yep.
Absolutely. And thank you for doing that for Millstream and our
Oh,
Artist
oh,
Spotlight weekend. I mean,
yeah.
that's wonderful. So
Yeah.
because
And
we really
hopefully,
that's yeah, we
oh,
want
go
people to
ahead.
purchase the work. We want people to support artists
Right.
in our community, and that's
Yeah.
a big part of it.
Yeah, and I do want to thank you for doing the interview and everybody associated with Millstream for um, thinking a little bit outside the box and instead of just saying, "Oh, we're not going to do it this year," actually doing something different. And
Mhm.
for me, this is great. I'm not standing outside all day long, so I don't,
Yeah,
I
right.
don't. Um,
It
but
has been a unique way for us to meet artists that wouldn't be standing outside all day long.
right,
That's been
right,
it's been absolutely wonderful. And just like you as an artist having to try new things and do things a different way, I think as artists we're
right,
really good at that. Like we have
yeah,
these restrictions and it's gotten really narrow. What are some creative ways we can
right.
make this work? And here we are.
Yeah, here
So,
we are. So,
so
and also thank you to everybody who has followed me and supported me and encouraged me over all the years. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone because, yeah, without you guys, this wouldn't still be going on, and I wouldn't be here rambling. I started doing some of my own videos this year, so I know how
good.
hard these are to edit.
Oh,
Um,
it's good.
and but yeah,
It's
so
good.
people that have been watching my earlier videos this year know that I kind of ramble and my throat gets all weird. But
Oh. Well, thank you for being with us, Barb, and thank you
Yeah, thank you, Alicia.
for sharing your work and your book and your zine. Oh, now I'm not going to
Yep,
forget that. So
yep. I'm
take care.
surprised that someone else hasn't had one, but
No, no, look at that. You, it's you. I love it. Well, take care, Barb. Have a good day.
yep. All right, thank you. Bye,
You bet. Bye
everybody.
bye. Bye bye.